Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to News in Motion. Today is Thursday, September 14th, 2023. Here over at News in Motion, this is what we call our Friday Eve. So the show today is going to be a little bit more relaxed, but we are still going to have some headline news and relevant commentary with some calls to action. Whether you were tuning in through Facebook, through the tubes of you, or if you are tuning in through LinkedIn, or if you are an audio or podcast listener, we just want to say thank you for tuning in and joining us this morning. If you are here with us live at 7:25 a.m. Eastern Time, or if you are tuning in and watching the replay, whether that be in the afternoon, the evening, or near the nighttime, we just want to say thank you for all your support and all that you do here in News in Motion. Of course, we will be joined momentarily by the one and only Miss Gail Deli. But first, let's give out a few quick shout outs to some of our viewers who are tuning in. Of course, we have Miss Marion Jackson tuning in through YouTube, Miss Deborah Johnson tuning in through Facebook. Good morning to you, Miss Adrian, also tuning in through YouTube. And good morning, Camille Jones, who is tuning in through Facebook as well. How has everybody's week been? We're almost through the week. We're almost to the weekend. Tomorrow is Friday. For some of us, it's payday. But here on News in Motion, it's our Friday Eve. So, without further delay, let's go hear some news in motion.
News in motion.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I absolutely love how we refresh that music. Shout out again to our maestro, the theme music, Pastor Timothy Carpenter. I just absolutely love it. I love the transition there. It gave us just what we needed. Isaiah's called out several of you already, so good morning to all of you. I'll jump in at Shirley Nicholson and Donita and my brother Louis Pryor III, Robert Holman, Regina Shorts, and others of you are jumping in here. I see Lori Wallace coming in. She just came in. Deborah Sneed said, love the music. I love it too. It's just enough how he was able to just merge the two, but give it a freshness at the end. I absolutely love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, y'all. We got to get started today. It's been a great week. We want to hear from you. If you don't mind, go ahead and place in the chat. What have been your thoughts of this week? We came back on Monday, September the 11th. We made some transitions along the way. We revamped some things. We threw some things out. We merged some things. We just want to hear from you. For those of you, again, who you're calling in, that I think was the brightest idea we had, was to call in. Davia said, good morning. Yes, music is fire. Yay! Let me just share this. I love it's Timothy Carpenter is like my brother, okay? And I love every score he writes. I love it. And so I immediately was like, yes, fire, let's go. And that was one of the earlier mock-ups he submitted. But the team was like, not sure. And I was like, what do you mean? This is great. And then so I let him know, and well, he actually said, because he knows me, he's like, okay, I'm not feeling this. He said, well, my response. And I said, well, I love it. But the team, he sent something back, and the team was still not real sure. But they were like, okay, since Gail likes it, fine. But he still wasn't okay. So he kept massaging it. And when he released that one, we were all like, that's it. So don't be afraid to take your time. And then also separate yourself if you have a direct connection with your brand person or your theme person or whomever. If you have a direct connection with them, you should remove yourself and let other people listen to it, because they may hear something or feel something that you may not be able to recognize because you have a direct connection to that person. Now, all of his music is fire, okay? But there was something about this, and the more I hear it, I get so excited behind it. So, and I see you, Stephanie Burbridge Hall. Marion says smooth transition. Good morning, Kim Edmondson. Good morning. All right, y'all. Today is Thursday, September the 14th, as Isaiah said, is like our Friday Eve. I'm your host, Gail Dudley. Hey, what's up, Latrice Jones? Welcome, everyone. Facebook, LinkedIn. That audio podcast, we hear you. So we're going to figure out something between today and I don't know, probably Saturday to see how we're going to revamp that, which means I probably just have to go back into my pocket and make it work. But we're going to figure it out so that you can have it. You all have communicated. You do not like the delay. You're like, you rather watch the replay than have the delay on the podcast. So we're going to work through that and see what's happening there. I see you, Rosanna Bivens. I see you, Judy Neal. Y'all know what I say. Get your coffee, your tea, your mimosa, and let's get this thing started. This is the last day I'm going to share our mission statement. We just wanted to put that out there. What's up, New Me Forever? And I want to know who you are. New Me Forever was in here at 6:55 a.m. I said, well, they're excited. So I'm so excited. So let me know who you are, please, so I can officially thank you for being that excited to join us so early. News in Motion, y'all, operates as an aggregated media platform. We pull news from all directions, um, dedicated to fostering citizen engagement and civic life by delivering headline news, voter education, and encouraging voter participation. It serves as a catalyst for action, y'all, with an uplifting message. And the message is now, you got to follow along. We're trying to weave it throughout, throw out little nuggets here and there. I had one of our regular supporters, viewers say, I just could not find the inspirational message. And I said to this person, because we're cool, we're really good friends. I said, I know. I said, it's new to me too. I said, we may go back to the old format, but I'm trying real hard not to. I'm trying to keep weaving it in here. I'm being stretched and I'm trying to be obedient to what God is telling me, but I'm so used to it the other way. So we'll see what happens. We aim to instill a sense of empowerment and motivation. This grassroots movement, and it is a movement, seeks to inspire individuals through informative and engaging content, encouraging them to take meaningful action in their communities and contribute to positive change. So that's it. That's it. That's it. I see y'all in here. Dr. Antoinette is saying, please don't forget to share. Kim Edmonds saying, don't forget to hit the like button. One's on YouTube, the other's on Facebook. So y'all just follow the directions. Hester saying, good morning. So good morning to you. And let's see. Pastor Anita is saying, work the new. Yes, I'm trying. What's up, Leah? What's happening? So y'all, I am excited. Again, many of you are using the telephone number and leaving messages. Now, some of you are calling on that number, asking me out. Now, I had some dude the other day saying, your smile is beautiful. You are banging. Can we meet up? No, we cannot meet up. You see this ring on my finger? And I love me some him. So that's not going to happen at all. So we're putting that number out there for you to leave us like any type of news reports, wherever you're calling from. But you also got to share the link or give us some information so that we can look it up and see what's happening. Those of you who are legit asking me out to coffee or you want to do something, I will do my best. But I told you I'm protecting my peace. I am not packing my schedule anymore. I'm not doing any of those things. But hey, I would love to hang out. Someone said, hey, I can make a mimosa brunch, and I know them. Okay, we can find out how we're going to fit that in. But I am loving the fact that you all are using that. So Isaiah, if you could throw that number up. Again, it's a Google voice number, 614-441-8178. Go ahead and give it a call. If you prefer it to be, if you prefer to send an email, you can do that too. That's at newsinmotionwithgail@gmail.com. Thank you, Davia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, y'all, let's get to the headline news because there's a lot of news. There's a lot of news. Y'all, Senator Mitt Romney said yesterday that he would not seek re-election in 2024. He's hanging it up. He said, which will likely mean the end of his long political career. The one-time presidential candidate said that he didn't believe either current President Joe Biden or former president, this is a quote, so I gotta say his name. Donald Trump were right for the White House. He says in a quote, frankly, it's time for new generation of leaders. The 76-year-old said on yesterday, and I kind of agree with him, okay? He says they're the ones that need to make the decisions that will shape the world they will be living in. There's a lot of truth to that. But here's my question to all of you who are tuning in this morning. Who are they? And who's taking the time to mentor and to raise up the younger generation? And I'm not talking 50-year-olds. I'm talking the late 20s or mid 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe some 60s. And I'm not hating on this. Hey, look, I'm 58. I'm not hating on this, okay? But I listened to him and I heard his passion, and he's being real serious about this. He said, things are changing. He talked about AI. He said, even in committee meetings, people are like, well, what is that again? How does that work? So why are you regulating something that you have no idea what you're doing, or you don't even use Google Meetup, or you don't use the different platforms? You're not on social media. Your aides are, which we understand that's what you hire them for. But if you don't have any awareness, why are you in the office, and why are you making regulations or putting standards or policies around them? Let's talk about climate change. Seriously, if you don't understand it, if you can't even think that when you were in your 20s and you're now 80 something years old, about the blizzards and the snowstorms and the tornadoes, and now all of a sudden they're not sure we're going to have enough water in some areas, and there's forest fires everywhere, that's called climate change. So even your recollection of how you grew up, and you remember, come on y'all, let's be real, we would walk to school because we didn't have all these buses. We would walk to school in deep snow. I mean, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of snow. We were barely making it through. We had plastic on top of our boots. Like, I still don't understand that part of it. Why am I putting plastic bags over my boots? Aren't the boots supposed to make this work? Just everything. You were bundled up and you walked. So it's now time for some new generation. So last year, Pastor Derek Holmes and I had a conversation, and he is convincing me. Now, it's not quite done, but I'm leaning more to it, that we should have a all-out summit that has all of these classes for 1 or 2 days, equipping young people. Every day, young people, you have to already be be a registered voter to come to this summit. We want to find the money. So anybody out there with some money, let me know. We want to find the money so no one has to pay their way to it, but we have to be able to pay all the people that are working it in the venue and everything like this. And this crazy man wants us to try to do this by June of 2024. I said, you're nuts, but let's talk about it. And after we heard this announcement, I called him. I said, okay, I kind of see where you're going with this, and I see that it's needed. So if all of the viewers can be praying for us through this, we would greatly appreciate it, because it just may turn around that we're going to do this thing. All right, y'all. Federal judge said the revised version of the federal policy that prevents the deportation of hundreds of thousands of immigrants brought to the U.S. as children was illegal. Yeah, the government will be barred from approving any new applications under the program known as a Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA, but left it intact for existing recipients. So it's still intact for existing recipients. The ruling is expected to be appealed to the Supreme Court, and this is coming from the Associated Press. Now, there's so much going on with that, so I'm going to just insert one of the stories I'm going to touch on next week. And that is, we know we have Florida governor and Texas governor that's shipping immigrants to California and to New York and to Chicago. And the mayors there are saying, we just can't do this. It's busting our budget. Now, that is also a political play. They were trying to squeeze them and squeeze their budget to let them know, no, we're not for it. And they're trying to get them in their camp saying, stop all of this. Well, there needs to be some immigration reform. Absolutely, yes. But what does that look like? And how do we begin to build that out so that we're not just shutting down the borders or making sure no one can come through or shipping people back out? But what can we do that's going to help America, what's going to help grow the economy, what's going to help allow the diversity to stay right here. So we need to start thinking about that. All right, y'all. I know I said I was going to be careful with the crossover, but I got to crossover on this one because this one's just too good not to report on. They're just going at each other, Dr. Antoinette. I don't know if you're still on here. I know you're probably driving to work, but y'all, Republican Representative Matt Gates on Tuesday, it actually started on Tuesday, threatened Speaker McCarthy. He just straight out on the floor threatened to from his position as Speaker of the House. Now, this is what he says. I'm like, I kept repeating it because I was like, I got to make sure I get all these words right. What is he saying and why? He says, I rise today to serve notice, Mr. Speaker. You are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. This is what Matt Gaetz said on the floor on Tuesday. And I'm like, what? Then he goes on to say, the path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion to vacate the chair. I'm like, say what? He doesn't stop there. He says, Mr. Speaker, dust off your written January agreement. You have a copy. Reflect on the spirit of that agreement and build on the start that we had moments ago. Begin to comply. Mhm. He then says, I know that Washington isn't a town where people are known for keeping their word. Well, Mr. McCarthy, I am here to hold you to yours. I was like, oh, those sounds like fighting words. Okay. So, for those of you who may not be aware of the backstory, there was an agreement that the House Freedom Caucus put together if Speaker Kevin McCarthy was going to be voted into that seat. Y'all remember there were a gazillion votes, okay, on that floor. There were a gazillion of them. Okay. And it was pretty much the ringleaders were Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. Yeah. So they were all going at it. So he finally won the seat, but he signed this agreement. So he kind of like sold his soul to be able to be in this position. I don't know about you. I don't want a job like that. Because I don't want to owe you anything. Nothing at all. Nope, not doing it. So he had agreed to that. So now he's at this crossroads where they're like, either put up or be removed. So now get this. I had to follow the story. I'm like, okay, I know McCarthy has something to say back. Well, he did. He finally did. So Speaker McCarthy responded to Matt Gaetz by saying that he's just upset about the ethics complaint. What? What ethic complaint? McCarthy? So McCarthy went all the way in on it. He straight up went in. He said that he was referring to the House Ethics Committee investigation into allegation of Matt Gaetz engaged in sexual misconduct and drug use. Oh, now you're going to bring that up. You didn't bring that up when they were actually going through the investigation, but now you're going to bring it up. So now you're putting that back on the table. Their own house is beginning to crumble because they cannot focus on what's at hand. What's at hand is that we have 76-year-olds up to 90-year-olds serving in roles that maybe it's time for them to leave. Now, when I get 80, if God lets me stay here long enough to be 80, I want to still be able to do what I want to do as well. But I don't want to forget the young people. Y'all wonder why I'm surrounded by the millennials and the young people in high school. It's because they keep me relevant. They keep me on my toes. And I'm also constantly putting them out in the forefront. That's how all of us should be working. Find that person who can replace you. So if you're looking for an inspirational message, there it is right there. Find that young person that you can train up who can replace you. Surround yourself with young people. Surround yourself with people who are always pushing you, even older people who are pushing you forward. We have to do this, y'all. We have to, because this right here, if this is what you're doing in the house, what's happening with the immigration reform? What's happening with homelessness? Because there's a lot of that. What's happening with child poverty? I'm gonna touch on that next week, y'all. What's happening with all of those things, and why aren't we paying attention to those particular items? So that's what's happening, y'all, in the House of Representatives right now. That's what's happening. Yeah. Can you believe that? And we still have George Santos, who has about 9 alias names now that they've come up with, who's also speaking to this. You don't have a right to speak to any of this. We still don't know your real name. We still don't know what's going on with you. You should not even be in your seat right now. So maybe that's where the House or the entire Congress should start. Let's start putting together some legislation and some rules for who can run for office, how they can run for office, and if they break any rules, how quickly they can get removed from office. Not these little threats of signing an agreement that if you don't follow what we say, we're going to oust you. Come on, get over yourself. Seriously. Now, this is what we're doing. We can't do these things, y'all. This democracy, we're in trouble, y'all. We are in trouble. Good morning, Sardinia. All right, y'all. Now for the spotlight story today. Get ready to chat. Y'all get ready to chat. There's a lot that I'm getting ready to unpack here. Let's talk the United Auto Workers leaders and also this. They believe they're going to strike come tomorrow or later tonight, shall I say, and the possible government shutdown. I know that's a whole lot, but we're getting ready to dig into this. So, y'all, the United Auto Workers leader said on yesterday that his members are prepared to strike against the three Detroit automakers. The UAW president, Sean Fain, also ruled out any extension for existing 4-year contracts with General Motors, Ford Motor, and Stellantis after they expire on tonight, y'all. As many as 150,000 U.S. auto workers may soon walk out of in a historic strike against General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis that could have wide-ranging economic effects and really could cause for a political challenge for President Biden. We can actually see Bidenomics, that's what they call it. Whoever coined that was really brilliant. Took his name and then the EN. Oh, yeah, they really did that very well. But we could beginning to see the collapse of that, not only with the strike, but with the possible government shutdown, and then this child poverty that actually increased in numbers over the last 6 months. So, per the New York Times, the union plans to pay striking workers $500 per week and cover the cost of their health insurance premiums. Now, the union has a strike fund of $825 million, which could cover payments to workers in a full strike against 3 companies for about 3 months. Now, if you're wondering, well, what's the key areas that they want in their demand? They've included 40% hourly pay increases, a reduced 32-hour work week, a shift back to traditional pensions, and the elimination of compensation tier, and a restoration of cost of living adjustments, among other items. I think all those is about perfect, right? 40% hourly increase, a reduced 32-hour work week, a shift back to traditional pensions, the elimination of compensation tier, and the restoration of cost of living adjustments. So that's what they're asking for. Well, um, the union is concerned about the potential loss of jobs as a result of the transition. And they're talking about electric vehicles, which do not have the components like transmissions or fuel systems, require fewer workers to produce. I'm seeing y'all's comments in here. I'll try to get to some of those in a few moments. Now, y'all, all 3 companies are building battery plants with partners that are not automatically covered by the UAW contract. That's also a concern. So, in doing so, y'all know what I do now, right? So, I got to pull in this critical thinking piece and start asking some questions. But at the same time, I went to the old dudes. Yes, I did. Starting with my own dad. I said, okay, Dad, you were a manager of Rockwell International. What was it like when you heard the people say they were going on strike or there was a possible strike? What was happening? I said, even before you became a manager, what were some of the conversations on the floor when you were even a part of a strike? And then he shared with me about his strike, and I had to hear about his dad, my grandfather, and like he gave me this history lesson that was like, wow. So here were some of the questions he was saying. He said it's good to focus on the historical context or the precedents, and their strike and the magnitude within the U.S. and, for example, in this case, the auto industry. And so I replied back to my father and I said, but we don't have some of the same dynamics. Let's insert AI, let's insert electric vehicles, let's insert where we are, social media. I said, everything's social, everything's media, everything's out there. So, how do you navigate this? And his response to me was, I have no idea. He said, I have no idea how you would do that. He said, and I think that's the challenge, which goes back to we have the young and the old, and we're trying to merge, going back to Mitt Romney. And there's not a connection, there's a disconnect because of the way of thinking of different people. He said some of this could be the older men and women in the UAW, and then the younger ones that are coming in saying, but we can do this way. He said, but what they're missing is the cost of living for today. These men and women who have been on these lines, coming and going, and the risk factor and all of that. I said, good point, Dad, good point. So I went to one of his other friends and asked this question. And he came back with this question. He said, and the good question is, how might such a large scale strike impact the production and the availability of vehicles from General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis? And what could be the consequences for the consumers? He brought it back to the consumers. I was like, I like that. And so I returned that with, well, what about the voting power of the consumers? We are the consumers. We're the ones buying these vehicles. So are they looking to the consumers to ask us any questions? How might we be able to help in this entire process of possibly halting this strike? Or what are the consequences for a strike like this? I know I'm bringing y'all a lot, but I want y'all to bear with me. And this is our Friday Eve, but I had to go deep today. I hope you don't mind. Kim Edmonds is saying employer paid pensions are a thing of the past. And then Kim Edmonds says, you want more pay and less work. That's out there. That's out there. Kim Edmonds is on it, y'all. She's also said investing in people without investing in technology, and then she has in parentheses, electric cars will result in a lose-lose for everyone. So then I have up here, what economic effects could result from the strike, not only for the automotive industry, but also for related sectors, suppliers, and the broader economy. And then again, that's when I said, are we about to witness the Bidenomics begin to fall? Other questions, how might this strike affect the financial health and stock prices of the companies involved, as well as the people who are buying into these different companies, investing into these different companies? What potential resolutions or compromises could be explored to address the concerns of the auto workers to avoid a prolonged strike? One thing that my father was saying to me over and over and over again, I thought this was so interesting. He said, you got to take emotions out. He said sometimes people become so emotional. He said, which I understand. He said, but at some point you have to separate your emotions out of it and look at the bottom line, the long-term impact, not just for the companies, but also for the employees. And when I was doing some research, I started to see some of the pay disparities, and we all know those are out there. And yes, I understand CEOs and presidents making these billions of dollars, but then when you break it down to the ones who's actually singing these cars through the line and they're making less than $100,000 a year, sometimes less than $80,000, there's a wide disparity, and you have to begin to ask the question, how do we begin to close this gap? These are some of the questions we should be looking at, especially when we're trying to separate the the emotions from what's actually happening. We have to look at that and begin to separate it. Adrian says NPR reports $500 million from the economy daily. And don't forget, y'all, annually we have 100 billion that are going to nursing homes, but they're still understaffed. And, we talked about that the other day. And that's also on my Medium article on the Medium platform. So these are just some questions that we need to be asking. And then another question is, what role might technology, automation, and shifts in consumer preferences for electric vehicles play in the context of this strike and the broader auto industry? And I'm saying this carefully, but somehow we need to have the CEOs, the visionaries, the brain people, including Elon Musk, come to this table to have some of these conversations without the emotions. So I want to go on before I get out of here today. The UAW strike and a possible government shutdown may not be directly connected. They're not necessarily in terms of their causes or participants, but they can have overlapping consequences and implications. So I went through and I was just looking at different dynamics. I want to share some of those with you. Can y'all tell I love the way we're doing this now? I'm going deeper in stories and it's just giving me life. So the economic impact, affecting not only the automakers, but also suppliers, the dealerships, and the related businesses. A government shutdown can lead to furloughs of federal workers and contractors, dispute government services, and impact the broader economy. So you're having both the suppliers, the dealers, the related businesses. And if they have contracts with the government, those two things together, and there's a government shutdown, man, you're talking about a catastrophe. um Consumer confidence, we have the UAW strike can lead to reduced vehicle availability. I kept thinking about that. So if we reduce this, it's going to increase the prices of the vehicles when they return, and if it's a long-term strike, we're really in trouble. And then a government shutdown can create uncertainty and anxiety among consumers. So you already have a clash, and these are two close together, okay? And then you have the political fallout. Then you have labor relations and union power. You also have a supply chain disruption. These are just things I was pulling out when I was looking at different articles and the press releases, trying to bring a connection here. You have legislative priorities. Let me talk about this for a moment. The government shutdown can divert attention and resources away from other legislative priorities. But I don't even know if we can go there yet, because we have Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy just going at each other. You also have this move for this impeachment inquiry. You also have the deficit that's coming up. You also have the any type of upcoming elections. I know most of them are local in November, but then you have the primaries that's coming up in January. We have so much going on. So are we even paying attention to the constituents and the needs of the community? Public perception, what's actually going on, economic resilience and preparedness. Now, y'all, with all of that I just shared, the UAW strike and the government shutdown are distinct events with different causes. That's out there. But they can intersect in terms of the broader economic, political, and societal consequences. Now, those three things, I don't have time to break down each of those individually, but you're talking about economics. Now, we're still dealing with this inflation piece. We're still dealing with that, with the rate hikes and all of that. Now, the political part of it, man, we're already at a clash between parties. We're already at a clash. And we're almost like at a crossroads that we can't even cross over the bridge together. It's just my way or the highway. We'll never get anywhere with that. So with this political climate, and you have this possible government shutdown, and you have the UAW possible strike at midnight or 11:59 tonight, you have those two things going on. You have inflation, you have fear, you have greed. Hello, somebody, you have greed in there as well. You have the policies, you have the legislative part of it, you have the economic part of it, you have all of this going on. Well, what about the people? How do we continue? What does that look like? And then you have societal consequences. So that's the consequence there. And then I went a step further, and I don't have time to go into this, but policymakers, the business leaders, and the public often need to navigate all of this, but yet we're focused on so many different pieces and moving parts. I know y'all didn't want to hear all that, but I come back to this. One of the things I said we were promised to give to you, and that's the promise to get on your last nerve when it comes to voting. We have to vote. We have to vote. We have to get beyond personalities. We have to get beyond who we like or dislike. Move all that out the way, and let's start focusing on who can do the job well. Who's going to remember me not me as my name, Gail Dudley, but me as a human being, excuse me, as a constituent. Who's going to remember me? Who's going to look at all the many factors? Who's going to look at past laws, current laws? Who's going to look at what worked and what did not work and make sure we have a solution that's going to help as many people as possible? Notice I didn't say everyone, because that's setting yourself up for failure. Who's going to take the time to hear from the people? Who's going to take the time to have honest town hall meetings? Who's going to take the time to sit down with a small group or focus group and say, okay, tell me what you're hearing on the ground. What can we do? What about gun legislation? How does that play a part in here? We got the NRA in there too. We want to we want to compartmentalize each piece, but we can no longer do that. And I was able to uncover that most of the week this week. I was like, everything is connected one way or another. So how do we begin to dismantle some of this and chipping away at it one factor at a time, so that we can begin to disconnect some of these connections? We can bring highlights to some of this that's going on, and we together can really make a difference. So, y'all, there's a lot there I wanted to drop on you. I hope it was interesting for you all to follow along. Hope it gives you food for thought. That's one of the things we said we wanted to do. We hope we are challenging the status quo. We're not here to be to jump on a bandwagon. We're here to challenge the status quo. That's everything. If you missed Monday, go watch the first 15 minutes. You'll see all of those there. I believe there were 7 items of what we will do here at News in Motion. So that's it for today, y'all. The podcast drops tomorrow. It's called Beyond the Horizon. I am interviewing Pat Williams, a certified senior living advisor. It's going to be a dynamic interview, and it feeds into the podcast from last week. Y'all, I actually think it's been a great week. Y'all can tell me if y'all don't think so, but I think it's been a great week. I am in my lane for real, and I am loving every moment of it. Every moment of it. Y'all, that's it. Until our time together on Monday. We're not here on Friday, but on Monday. And don't forget, we may be on here 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or longer. Or we may say, you know what, we're going to miss today. We'll be back the next day. But we will be here on Monday, God willing. But I want to go back to the inspirational message about what are you doing about raising somebody else up? Who are you mentoring? Who are you bringing along? Who are you finding that person to replace you? Deborah Johnson says, great week and a wonderful show. Kim Edmondson shows some clapping hands on there. Adrian says, smash that like button. I love all of y'all. I just love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. All right, y'all, stay moving and live your life abundantly. We're out.